You are alive. Yes, I am. Hello, everybody. Howdy, howdy. What's that one? Something, something chicken dinner. That one phrase that people say. I don't know. Anyhow, hello, welcome, good morning, good evening, good afternoon. Hello, Al. What's going on, y'all? Winner, winner, chicken dinner. That's it. That's it right there. Winner, winner, chicken dinner. All right. And Al is the first one here today. How many times does that happen? All right. So, hello, Mary. I have started a series of books. It's going to be 7 books, and it is dismantling the institutional church because that is what is keeping so many people from their healing. All the crap that's taught and believed. And so I am super excited to do this series, and it'll tick a lot of people off, especially the first book, which I'm kind of keeping a secret for a moment, because if I don't, I will start teaching it now, and I essentially want to hold off. So, with that said, we got CJ in the background lounging back. Like that. And all that. If y'all think people are calling me a false prophet and all that stuff now, y'all just wait. Y'all just really wait. So today, hello Rita, hello Mercedes. I gotta write it first, then it's gotta be edited, and then I gotta develop a cover, and then I got 500,000 things to do. If I had to make a guess, it'd be about 6 months, roughly. About 6 months, roughly. I actually outlined all the series. So I know exactly which topic I'm tackling first. Hello, Amy. But this is going to be a huge undertaking, and so we will see. But everything's up here. I just gotta get it on paper now. Well, y'all know what I mean. On computer paper. So, and Granny ain't here today, I don't think. But just for Granny, thank you for the pins. And you're driving your grandson crazy. All right. So, and like I said, the first book is going to be something that is very seldom addressed, but it really shows how the whole foundation of the institutional church is way whacked to begin with. So how can you have any hope of anything coming good out of something that was fabricated on a lie? I will let y'all guess and everything else, because nobody will guess what the first book's about. It just ain't gonna happen. All right. So with that little bit of announcement, let's talk about healing today. And here's the thing. And this is why this series of books is so important to me. I want people to understand I've never been a part of institutional church or accepted by it. And within the healings I've experienced, none of them have been within the boundaries of the institutional church. And all of them totally contradict what is taught about healing and the way the majority of people teach healing, and it blows it all out of the water. Okay? And I'm including the one from last year when my heart stopped as well. And in fact, CJ, I'm fixing to say something that involves you. Y'all don't realize this. So, a person who shall remain nameless, right? And I'm watching CJ's reaction. A person who shall remain nameless, when I was in the hospital and the doctor's giving nothing but bad news, blah, 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 he's gonna die, blah, blah, blah. This person suggested to CJ that he take a Bible and sit it beside me or in the room. And I want y'all to picture this. All right? What does anybody think would have happened if I woke up and there's a Bible next to me or in the room? It would have gone thrown at somebody. Probably more than once. The power is within us, not within a book. Okay? I just had to bring that example up. People think there is power emanating from that book. The power doesn't come from a book. The power comes from the Holy Spirit within us. That's one thing that the institutional church has got everybody brainwashed on. Okay? Now, I know CJ didn't mind me saying that. That's why I left the other person out of it. But somebody would have gotten hit. CJ knew better. All right? What in the heck? Anyhow. So, in fact, most of my healings transcend what the institutional church has brainwashed people with. And what further transcends that and in some ways, last year is even more powerful for me than when I was healed from Lou Gehrig's disease. And my chances of living were 0%. Just there was even less of a chance me living from that, much less being normal. Well, I take that back. I ain't never been normal a day in my life. Don't plan to be normal. And so therefore, normal for me and being able to function, the odds were even less. So one thing I want people to get out of it is this. A part of the problem is we try to plan our healing. We want to be healed on our terms. And I see this time and time and time again. And the thing is, when you let that go, when you get rid of you planning out how you're going to be healed and you embrace the unknown, that's when things happen. As long as you're in there micromanaging stuff and you're trying to dictate how it's going to happen, that's when you're in trouble. Both times, my healing occurred in different ways. And in fact, any healing I've ever had, there's different ways. And that's the problem. We as humans look at the surface level of things. That's why I get all these people that want to know exactly what happened, all the nitty gritty details, so they can plan out their healing based upon mine. That never has worked and never will work. Okay? You've got to look underneath the surface. And the things that are underneath the surface are always the same. They do not change. They cannot change. It always remains the same. You can take me, you can take CJ, and we can do the same quote unquote steps. We could do the same things, but both of us will have different results. But underneath the surface, everything is the same. What do I mean by that? I mean, one, we surrendered, okay? There was a type of letting go, all right? Because there's so much that we're clinging to, every single person. And a lot of that, some of it can be beliefs, some of it can be control, different things that we're clinging to. And I've said this so many times, and that is, you cannot change matter by matter. And that includes how you think. If you think on a physical level, that is matter trying to change matter. That's an impossibility. It can never happen. So therefore, if you are trying to get healed based upon human logic, it is not going to happen. It takes energy to change matter, and that is spiritual energy. Spiritual energy cannot be contained within physical thoughts. Therefore, in the way you think intellectually, that cannot, will not, has never entered into healing. That's where the surrender comes in. You are surrendering your physical self. You're coming out of your physical body, okay, and embracing your spiritual essence. That has a moment of release and surrender, right? In order to let something go, and this includes sickness, what do you have to do? Release it. And that's where the surrender and then the releasing comes in. And then that's when spiritual energy is released. You don't have to understand the concepts in order for it to happen. Too many people, and yes, I do try to explain it, but too many people micromanage it. Hey, in order for the light bulb to go off, in order for me to have light in this room, I do not have to understand it. And Lord have mercy if I did. All right? What do all I have to do is what? Flip the switch. That's all I have to do. And that's the same way with healing. We don't have to know. When I was healed from the ALS, I had no clue whatsoever about healing. I wasn't listening to anybody on healing. This is why I try to tell y'all, even if you're stuck in a completely carnal-minded way, and you're thinking carnally minded, you can still be healed. I was. I did not have even an eighth of the knowledge that I have now. And yet, I was healed. So you've got to realize that your striving to get healed is working against you more than it is for you. It really is. But I do want it to be an encouragement that somebody that didn't even own a Bible was healed. And that's something I wish people would embrace more and recognize more. It just takes that one moment, that one shift in thinking, and then bam, slam, it's on. And then people will ask, well, then why do you recommend meditating? Blah, 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 blah. Because that's the thing, once again, is seeing yourself as healed, not as a work to get healed, but as truth, as an experience, okay? That is not a form of works. It's an experience. If you've already experienced your healing, you're no longer looking for it. You're no longer striving for it. You're no longer under stress. You're no longer in fear. So the things that I encourage you to do are not based upon working to get. I did not work to get my healing in either one of my extreme cases. All right, neither with the ALS nor with my heart issue. If you're in constant fear, then you haven't experienced your healing yet. And the biggest way that I know to experience your healing is with your imagination. And when you get outside of the institutional church and Western Christianity, and you grab a hold of the fact that the imagination is the realm of the spirit and is to be believed. Once you've truly experienced in the spiritual world, then it has to happen on this physical plane, period. No excuses, no anything. The peace that comes before any healing. You can interview 100 people, and every time in any miracle, there is peace prior, sometimes only seconds prior to the healing. That's because that's where you've reached the conclusion, not always consciously, that you have nothing to fear anymore. And these are all things that, one, I learned by going back over, and especially my being healed from ALS when I was paralyzed, and looking and asking the Holy Spirit. And these are things I've learned from that, and then again from my heart issues. Healing doesn't come through striving. The more you strive, the more you worry, the more you try to get, as I talk about often. you can't get something you already possess. Each and every one of you already possess your healing within you. It is there. Now, I just lost my train of thought because I was jumping ahead. You already possess it. That's why you're simply releasing it. What releases it? Belief. I said imagination is spirit. Okay? How do I explain this? You can say, these are some things, we try to break it down too much. Mary, that's a good question. Can you say imagination is energy? Is energy expanded within the use of imagination? Yes, I would say so. But it's not the sole source of energy. So, and once again, this is a very good question. I am not putting down the question at all. Y'all asked some really good questions that make me think. Because another source of energy that changes matter. All right, all of this is spiritual energy, is what we're talking. Am I back? Okay, I'm back. I do not know what happened. Can y'all hear me? Can you hear me now? Okay. It's all spiritual energy. This is taking me a minute, Mary. Like I said, it's a good question. It's all spiritual energy. The imagination, yes, but really, and this is just me thinking on the spot, the vast source of energy is usually the emotions, which is energy in motion. Okay. That I would say is a combination of the two. And once again, but that's not something that we have to figure out. Because belief in itself is a form of energy. So you have belief, you've got the imagination, you've got the emotion. And who's to say what part is what? Is it going to make a difference whether it's 10% emotion, 20% imagination, 30%? It don't matter. Just my opinion. Suffice it to say this, that if your energy is on the positive, if everything is flowing, right? Then that energy is working. Does that make sense? Did I answer your question, Mary? Did I answer your question? And was it acceptable? Because, and I do love questions like that. Please do not misunderstand me. Okay. Good deal then. Awesome. And once again, it's not something I want people focused on. Okay, because I certainly did not have a clue about this when I was healed. I had a clue about none of it. And likewise, it's the same thing with grounding. And trust me, there's been many miraculous things that people have experienced through grounding. When you touch the earth with your bare skin, okay? God created the earth to heal us. And when you're grounding, you ain't got to know what's going on. All you got to do is be open and sensitive enough to recognize that you're healed, right? And so that's what's important, to be open. And that's the unknown. That's why we need to welcome the unknown. The unknown is the place there are infinite possibilities. And so instead of shying away from the unknown, we should be embracing the unknown. That's a beautiful place to be. I'm glad I could clarify that for you, Mary. That is a beautiful place to be. And fear of the unknown is what holds so many of us back. And therefore, we don't experience the things we were meant to experience. Okay. So Eric is either eating, sleeping, or doesn't have anything to say, or all of the above. In the unknown realm, when you were saying you can only reach at certain levels of mediation. Okay. You have got the alpha state. That is the beginning stage of the meditational levels. Okay. And my viewpoint is the most effective state. And my viewpoint is the state of the spirit. Okay. That is when, and you've got the beta, which is a state that most people are in all the time. That's why that's the chaos. state. I did. That's the state that most people operate in. That's where fear settles in, all that stuff. Okay. The alpha state is between 7 and 12 megahertz. That's when your brain slows down to 712 megahertz. That is the state where you absorb the easiest. That's the state where you learn the easiest. And that is when the brain waves are most cohesive. All the other states are deeper and deeper meditational states for sure. I don't know what you're saying, Amy. If you do believe, how do you do belief the best? You either believe or you don't believe. So then you've got the delta and all the other states. Just my opinion. I don't strive to be in those other states. My focus has always been the alpha state. That is where you are still awake, you're still coherent, and all of this. But in my research and my experience, that's the best state. I haven't even tried to go into some of the others. Perhaps I was there when I was in the hospital. I do not know. If fear comes over you, you are not believing. If you are believing, then you've pushed back fear. You're in peace because you believe. If I believe I have this knife in my hand and that this knife will protect me when I throw it, what am I afraid of? Nothing. I have possession of it. It is mine. That is what believing is. You can believe for the worst to happen and be in fear, but that's not the type of belief you want to be in. To be perfectly churchy would be Eric's response. All right. So, let's see here. You cannot be in the alpha state and be in fear because, and to put it in one way, in the alpha state, you're not concerned. Okay, so my bro, Eric, let me ask a fair question. Who is more churchy, You or me? You. So I'm not incorrect. Now, if we took you and compared you to someone else, then you would appear as if you were not churchy at all. Okay. You was thanking me. Less churchy. All right. Hey, I am one of a kind. Okay. So we were talking about meditations. So the alpha level, if you're in the alpha level, you cannot, it's impossible to be in fear. If you're in fear, you're not in the alpha level. Fear is an impossibility. Pain is an impossibility because you have more or less, how do I describe it? I don't want to get too flaky. Joe Dispenza describes it the best in my opinion. But you're not concerned about the physical world. Okay? You are in another plane of existence. You're not recognizing that you are in your body. You're not thinking along fleshly means. Okay? You are untouchable. You could say that. And so therefore, you cannot experience the physical things. You're nervous or fearful because you feel you lost control. Right. When actually you not being in control is the best place to be at. Fear, you're fearful of things that are more powerful than what you believe you are. Okay? That's a good way to put it, I think. A situation, whatever, you're fearful because you have a deep respect. So you're saying that whatever it is more powerful than the Holy Spirit in you, than the divine nature that you have within yourself. Hey, Dudette. Hello, Kayla. I'm all over the place today. And we've had some good questions. I think it'll be worth your time reviewing. So, just to sum up, people are in and out of the alpha state, of the alpha level, all throughout the day. Common rule of thumb: the more artistic you are, not autistic, artistic, then the more often that you're in the alpha state during the day. And a good way, somebody that paints. When you're painting, I guarantee you're at the alpha level. When I'm working on my books, I'm at the alpha level. But everybody goes in and out. And in my opinion, the place to stay, to learn to stay, I am a firm believer that Adam and Eve, before the fall, stayed at the alpha level. That is the God created place for us to be. We were not created to stay in the beta level. All right. So every single person has experienced the alpha level. And that's the times where you get great revelation, etc., etc. So the goal is to experience the alpha level and then maintain it throughout the day. Paul, I believe, would have been one that pretty much stayed at the alpha level. And so I don't even remember who started my rambling off on that, but I encourage it. But if, like I said, if you're experiencing symptoms and fear and all that, you're not at the alpha level. That's an impossibility. It's not possible. That doesn't mean you try harder. That means you relax. Okay. So, as usual, did I stay true to the topic? Yeah, I don't know. All right. Any more questions, statements, comments? Y'all have asked some good questions. Hopefully, I clarified some things for people. And yes, y'all, so you can. Question mark, Rita. What am I missing? Explain yourself. And like I said, I'm super excited about this series. Yes. Well, I mean, for lack of better terminology, you can say out of body, but yes, you can still be aware of what's going on around you. Let me say it like that. Now, to begin with, it's best to start out, in a room where there's nobody else, in a room where there's no distractions and stuff like that. Okay? But I can be in the alpha state and be driving a car. I can be in the alpha state. Now, disclaimer, I am not telling anyone to do this. If you are in the alpha state, if you're meditating, please do not drive. Disclaimer, big time. Sometimes I just need to learn when to shut my mouth. And CJ is rapidly shaking his head. You can be aware of your body and aware of your surroundings while you're at the alpha state. But please do not operate vehicles or do brain surgery or anything else. All right. Is that a good disclaimer? Or do you need to come on disclaim for me, CJ? Lord have mercy. I be getting myself in trouble. All right. So I am a firm believer that you can be in full operation at the alpha state. I would say that, and then refer you directly to my disclaimer. Do not do it. Okay. But yes, at the alpha state, you are aware, but the physicality is not controlling you. All right. Any more questions? Going once. And I'm excited for this series of books. That is actually me delving outside of the normal healing. But once again, the institution of church is so responsible for so many people staying sick. Tomorrow, for those interested, CJ has chosen. Da da da. Thank you, Eric. Okay. Tomorrow's topic. Thank you, Eric. Okay. That was a big help. All right. All right. So tomorrow we are going, and once again, this is CJ. This is CJ minded or CJ chosen topic. This is not Tony chosen. This is CJ chosen. So y'all can blame him and not me. And that is John 10:10 that y'all think is talking about the devil. Okay? Where you gonna put that nonsense as part of this series on misunderstood scriptures, misused scriptures, abused scriptures. The devil ain't nowhere in sight, okay? And I will prove it, and CJ will prove it, and we'll both prove it tomorrow. So stay tuned, because the devil went down this Georgia. He was looking for a soul to steal. He was going to buy it because he was way behind. He was willing to make a deal. CJ, come upon that fiddler and give the devil his due. I bet a fiddle will go against your soul. It says I'm better than you. Well, my name's Johnny, and it might be his. All right. Tomorrow, John 10:10. I can prove it beyond the shadow of a doubt. It has nothing to do with the devil. Be blessed. Be healed in it. And be a blessing. Both. We out of here.